Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wright Perspective. Today, we're going to recap and review Cool Runnings, a 1993 American comedy film directed by John Turteltaub and starring Leon Robinson, Dougie Doug, Raul D. Lewis, Malik Yoba, and John Candy. The film grossed an estimated $155 million worldwide against a budget of $17 million, and was the last film that John Candy, that was released, the last John Candy film that was released during his lifetime. Also, the movie was based loosely on the true story of the Jamaica national bobsled team's debut in competition during the 1988 Winter Olympics. And for some, these facts would be enough to consider this movie a classic. But today, we will determine whether it is a classic from the Wright Perspective.
We see it, Brittany. We see it.
We'll do a recap, discuss the movie, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol picked especially for this discussion. And for those who are tuning in, our audio participants, Brittany is obsessively holding up a VHS copy of this movie, Cool Runnings.
Yes.
Okay.
We see and acknowledge
we got it.
That you still have the VHS.
And that is just a very, very tip of the iceberg of Brittany's VHS collection, just so y'all know. And since you don't even have a VHS player, do you? This is just the collection you have in ceremony.
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
I have a DVD VHS duo that I got for $5 at a yard sale years ago.
Okay. All right. Let's do intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright. I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
And I am Brittany Wright, and I am the youngest, and I have a VHS of this movie.
And Brittany was, if you couldn't guess, she was the person that recommended that we recap and review this film. So her enthusiasm was to be expected. Okay, y'all.
Some people say they know they can't believe.
The
bobsled team.
We got the one daddies and the one junior, your brother and the Mansenka. The fastest of Jamaican sprinters. Respect to the man of Blitzer.
Oh my God.
She got them lyrics. Go ahead, sis. You better have them lyrics.
I'm gonna get me some new sisters. Definitely.
Well, it's funny because it's time for us to pick our voting symbol, y'all. And
I've already picked it. There's no need to discuss it.
All right, what is it?
It's a Jamaican bobsled. What else are we going with? Hello.
Yeah, I really don't see how it could be anything else.
I don't want to hear any of your loop de scoop stuff.
No, I would have wanted to hear the loop de scoop, but the thing is, before we started recording, she let us know she hadn't thought of it. Mm-hmm. So, see, I don't want no half-baked loop de scoop.
Don't nobody bring me no bad news.
I want the full
bad news.
I want the Genia. I like the Genia where she's laying in bed like, man, that's a good one.
Like, oh my goodness. I wanted to make sure. I thought that the symbol should be a palm tree because it is on the island and trees are where our ancestors hang from.
Well, I noticed in the first scene, there was grass. And there's a specific kind of grass that grows just in Jamaica. And so I was thinking a blade of grass.
We didn't see grass when they got to Calgary. So it means so much.
I'm just wondering if either of you actually watched this movie. Because if you had, you'd understand why I'm so confused by this energy. This isn't teamwork. Okay? This is not how you come together as a team to win the Olympic competition.
We got the one Aubrey and the one sister.
Did you not see the montages? Teamwork.
Oh, you want me to do
really
that?
good at
is
montages.
What makes the
give you the
work.
music. Rise above it.
That's a good one.
But anyway, Brittany, I fully agree. It's got to be a bobsled.
Well, I will still tell you all what my suggestion is, even though clearly I've already been outvoted, which is really what happened most of my childhood for our listeners, just so you know.
If there's anyone that listens to this podcast that is a counselor, she really needs some help or middle child syndrome.
They have access to a team of counselors.
They have been ganging up on me for literal decades. Okay. Brittany would leverage her cuteness. Oh, I'm the baby. I'm manipulating everybody. And Aubrey's like, oh, I'm the oldest. I have a ton of credibility. Look at me. Man. And there I was alone. Okay.
And we also put out there she was the least likely to get in trouble. Why? Because she didn't do anything but read books.
You're missing the point. The point is y'all have been ganging up on me.
We know what's going on.
Here's my idea, y'all. In the pre-show, okay, when we were in the green room getting ready to start this recording, we had a little dispute.
I didn't get the music fast enough, but I was trying to get the music for your story.
Actually, that sounds right.
So you want to tell us more about your childhood?
Yeah, that music does capture the melancholy. Okay, that's the isolation. Okay, of being abandoned by your siblings. Time and time again when it was convenient for them, which was truly thematically the story of my childhood.
Oh my gosh, thematically. All right. So yes, Brittany, put it down.
During the pre-show, we were all three of us had a slightly different take on the chant that the bobsledders were doing. So we figured out that it is feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up, it's bobsled time.
Yes, the one that I said from the beginning.
Okay. Congratulations, bro. Congratulations. Okay. Me and Brittany were slightly just a skosh off by a word or two. Okay. But that's what it is. But I like the idea of the chant. It's the voting symbol. And here's why. Okay. Because guess what? In all of our variations, what was actually happening? Okay. Our personalities were coming through. All right. And that's really what the chant was about. Don't you remember? It was when they reclaimed their identities and they found their confidence that they went out there and they gave that chant right before they hopped into that bobsled as they were about to do a potentially medal winning race down the pike. Okay.
Genia, if you can explain how a chant could be a symbol.
It's words. It's words, bro. It's words. But anyway, that's just something we'll put in the pocket. You did not
disappoint. Even though you were last minute, you still did not disappoint. And my question is, how were both of you saying the chant wrong for 30 years?
Well, no, I think that in this moment, I was having some sort of Freudian slip almost.
Gotcha.
Because I know I've been saying it right. That's when you said rhyme. I was like, it is rhyme.
Okay, I was saying, feel the rhythm, feel the ride. Because the very first time that we heard the chant, it was Sanka was saying it while he was about to do a push cart on a derby that he was having in Jamaica. And so ride always made sense to me. But I understand now that it is rhyme, but I do believe I've been saying it wrong for 30 years. I think that's actually what's happened. I don't think I ever had it right.
Well, no, we got to correct it. So it's all good.
Yeah. But it's a bobsled. It's a bobsled. Right. Fine. Well, fine. Let's just go with that very obvious symbol. And y'all, this movie, at the end of our discussion, it will get 0, 1, 2, or 3 bobsleds. And it has to receive 3 in order to be considered a classic from the Wright Perspective. Well, y'all, let's get into the recap, okay? And for those who are new to our podcast, we do a spoiler-filled recap. And we do it because some people haven't seen our content in a while, and some people haven't seen it at all, but they still want to enjoy the podcast. So # spoiler alert. All right, let's recap Cool Runnings. Our story starts in Jamaica in 1987. A group of three men, Doris Bannock, Junior Bevel, and Yul Brenner, runners that have obviously been training very seriously for a long time, they missed their chance to qualify for the 1988 Summer Olympics when one of them, Junior, trips during the qualifying race, tripping the other two. Okay. The three men didn't know each other at the time, but their fates became linked in that moment. Doris Bannock, played by Leon Robinson, usually he goes by Leon, is devastated by the incident. And, he felt it was his destiny to follow in his father's footsteps. His father had been an Olympic runner. And reflecting on his father's journey, he learns that back in the day, his father had actually been approached by an American guy named Irv Blitzer, played by John Candy, about the idea of starting a Jamaican bobsled team composed of sprinters, runners. It never happened, but it turns out that Irv was still in Jamaica. He had been a gold medal bobsledder himself in America until his medals were taken away from him for cheating in the Olympics. He had put weights in the front of his bobsled to make it go faster. He had moved to Jamaica in disgrace, and he had left bobsledding behind him, and he had become a bookie in Jamaica. And generally, I would just say he was not thriving in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Doris Doris wants to go to the Olympics so badly that he convinces Irv to partner with him to implement this idea of creating a Jamaican bobsled team. With only 3 months until the Olympics, Irv reluctantly agrees, and they recruit the other two runners, Junior Bevel, played by Raul Lewis, a rich kid with parents that want to control his life, and Yul Brenner, played by Malik Yoba, a loner that just wants to get out of Jamaica. Okay. And also they recruit Senka Coffee, played by Dougie Doug, who is Doris's best friend. And he happens to be the go-kart champion of Jamaica. And through a series of montages, and to Irv's surprise, the team actually becomes very good. In spite of their makeshift bobsled that looks like it was made from spare car parts, okay? And in spite of the fact that they do their cold weather conditioning by sitting inside an ice cream truck, and in spite of the fact that they have to fundraise for their team by singing on the streets and selling Junior's car, they not only go to the 1988 Olympics in Canada, but they are contenders for a medal. Irv uses their meager budget to get professional uniforms and a very used bobsled, and they are so excited. And, their unlikely friendships are growing, and then their friends and family back in Jamaica are excitedly watching the news coverage of their time in Canada leading up to the big races. But as usual, haters gonna hate. Who are the haters in this movie? Great question.
Listen, they wasn't in the dancery. I tell you that.
I wish they had gone over there.
Listen, go to the dancery.
Instead, they're over here at the Olympic Village, okay? The Jamaica Olympic Association, they're afraid of being embarrassed, okay? So they're not optimistic here, okay? The other bobsled teams from around the world are going out of their way to show the Jamaican team that they are out of place. Okay. The American Olympic team and the International Olympic Association, they are resentful of Irv for his cheating back in the past. And they're taking it out on Doris, Senka, Yul, and Junior. And Junior's father actually brings himself all the way up to Canada from Jamaica to tell Junior to withdraw from the team and go take a traditional job. But the truth is, the biggest hater of all is probably the self-doubt that creeps in periodically to distract and discourage each of them. Okay. But then with the help of another montage, they remember that the only thing that matters is that they be true to themselves and that they do their very best. Then the other haters start to come around too. Even the sports commentators for the Olympics are wearing Jamaica sweatshirts. On their third and final run of the Olympic Games, as they are killing it on the pike, a bolt on their bobsled comes loose and they lose control, and the bobsled flips on its side while momentum drags them down the pike with their helmets scraping against the icy wall. They weren't seriously injured, but their hope of any medal in that Olympics was gone. Okay, completely gone. But determined to finish the race, they hoist the bobsled up on their shoulders and they walk across the finish line to the applause of fans around the world who were simultaneously thinking, "We'll see you in 4 years, Jamaica. We'll see you in 4 years." The end.
I love your ending. You said that ending like it should have been in the script.
That's what they were all thinking.
It was. That's what he said. That's what Switzerland said to them.
Yes.
The Switzerland main guy.
The main hater.
See you in 4 years, Jamaica.
Oh my God.
His character was embodying the hatred.
But that was... Are we getting into it now?
Let's go.
Do it.
That was such a good part of the movie. I miss those 90s evil characters. Because like
they were so blatantly
movies were so simple back then. It was just, and you know, when he was in the bar, he was like, "Hey, Jamaica."
Leave bobsledding to the real men.
To the real men. It was just so perfect.
And the fact though that he told him to quiet down in a bar, I was like, I feel like there's music, all kinds of things going on.
Yeah. Brittany, you think it's too hard. You think it's too hard.
No, I'm just laughing like these are the things that those type of characters used to do in the 90s. It would be just something that's like quiet, but like everyone is yelling. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
You're going out of your way to just be mad at him right now.
Totally. Like, you're such a bully.
You're mad for no reason.
So mean. And that's all. And I just, there's no gray area. And look, I know movies are great where you're getting into anti-heroes, but I just miss that. No, this is the bad guy. This is the good guy. It's very simple.
Yes, and good and bad guys can become good guys. You just have to give them time sometimes.
Yeah, and usually the bad guy, they can become a good guy by learning from the good guy. They learn valuable lessons.
Yes.
You know what else is so effective in movies of that time is a good pep talk. And in that same scene, you know, we see Junior getting, all bullied by the guys from the Swiss team.
You probably should explain the scene. Like, yeah. Junior is lamenting to Yule about just, his problems and life.
Because Junior is very sheltered. He's very sheltered. He has been under the thumb of his parents in every single way. And what we learn about Junior's father is that he is a self-made man. Okay. Mm-hmm. He grew up living in a shanty, and then somehow he now owns one of the largest homes in Jamaica. So This is a man that has used grit to become successful. And he wants his son to be the beneficiary of that success in the way that he wants him to be the beneficiary. And so they have tolerated Junior wanting to be an athlete, but they're like, no, you're about to be a broker of some, but they didn't say what. He was going
to be, I thought it was a law firm, Webster and Cohen.
Yeah. They want him to go and do this traditional path, and Junior, he doesn't have the chutzpah. He doesn't have the courage. He doesn't have the fortitude to stand up to them because he never has. And so we see him as a person who's been bullied, obviously, by everyone his entire life. He's a pushover. Okay. And so here he is now in a scenario he's been in a bajillion times before, including in his own home, where he's being bullied. But this time it is by the Swiss team. But guess who's with him in that moment? It is the Malik Yoba character, Yul Brynner, who is a bully. Let's just be honest.
He's the enforcer.
He is.
That's the enforcer.
He's a loner. He even shaped his mouth at some point to say, I'm going to be on the team with you, but I'm not a member of this team or something along those lines. Like, I'll be with you on the team, but I'm not in the team or something. It was like,
and
sir.
He didn't want anyone to touch him. That's how you started off. He was like, don't touch me.
And so these two extremes in personalities, super loner, very overly independent, very, defensive, and then this like timid, bullied all the time. They start to become friends through montage. The gap starts to lessen between the two of them. And so here we see Yul Brynner watching his new friend get bullied. The two of them go in the bathroom and Yul Brynner says to him,
No, you need to be clear. Yul Brynner picks him up off of the chair and forces him into the bathroom.
Basically carries him. But sis, I don't want to misquote what happens once they go in the bathroom. So Yul Brynner carries Junior into the bathroom, okay, and proceeds to give the perfect 90s pep talk.
Yes.
Give it to
I
us,
see
sis.
pride. I see power. I see a bad mother who won't take nothing up for nobody.
It was so crazy is that I really thought I was gonna feel like it was corny. I felt like but honestly, it pumped me up just like 93,
sure.
It was still, I don't know, it's still
because him walking
when Junior gets it and he's so
cute.
Right, Paula, I see a bad but you're not gonna take those.
So Yul Brynner pumps up Junior. Junior's now ready to go with because he has so much pent up. I have just been taking it my whole life. And so when
you guys also, what you don't know is that he had just received a telegram from his father telling him he needs to pack up and come home. And then it comes to this bar scene. So he's
the Swiss are bullying him.
Exactly. And there's a little bit of alcohol involved. Okay. So that always does a little something to the scenes as well. But that's a part of it.
And he comes storming. Junior comes storming out that bathroom because he now sees pride and power and a bad mother. Okay, who don't take nothing from nobody. And he comes out and he confronts the Swiss. And he's not even good at it. He's not even good at confronting.
He did all right for his first time.
He did.
He tried. I don't like what you saying. It's like,
and you better come up with a pretty damn good apology.
That's right, Junior.
Yeah, and he's like shorter than the guy too. It's like you're not doing a great job, Junior. But he really tried,
and caught Yul Brynner off guard too because Yul was like, "Where
you going?"
He was out the back. He was like, "Oh."
And long story short, it sets off a fight scene in the bar,
and that was the cement. That was the final cement, and that's
of their friendship,
right.
bro.
That's right. Final cement of their friendship. And I really liked how the story arcs all make sense. It's like, you got this guy because Yul Brynner was this loner and he was forced to team up with them because getting off the island was most important to him. And even though he was justifiably upset with Junior, and stuff like that. And and the thing is right preceding the scene where and we're kind of doing this backwards, but right preceding the scene where Junior got the telegram and where they have the fight in the bar, it was a scene where Yul was talking about his hopes and dreams. And he was talking about, he had this picture of this place where he was going to live. And the picture was of Buckingham Palace. And Seika, of course, Seika's not mean, but he's Seika,
he's a jokester. He's a jokester.
So, and plus, Yul has been bothering everybody, up to this point. So Seika's always going to jab back. And he was like, man, that's the only way you get there is if you marry the queen. You know what I mean? And that speech, and the Junior was in the room as well, and he gave Yul the speech that, look, hey, man, don't listen to these haters. Hey, look, if you want a polish? Go get your polish.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy.
And that's where we learn about his father.
Right. And that's where we learn even more backstory. Because he explains, my father came for nothing. And now he has one of the biggest houses in Kingston.
Yeah.
You know, and so the friendships don't just fall out of, you know, anywhere. It's like, I like how, even though it's a shorter movie and they don't spend a long time, because all you need is a few, specific moments that is going to make the friendships make sense. So over the movie, you feel that.
Yes.
Friendship.
Yeah. You do. And part of it is that, you know, I think when a character as an individual is well developed and well understood by the audience, then when two characters come together, you can bring your understanding of the individual characters into understanding how the relationship can build. Yes. And so I think about the way that they helped us to understand Junior's character. You know, we got a chance to see him in his pampered home. We got a chance to see him being bossed around by his dad a little bit. We got a chance to see him rebelling in his way against what his parents were trying to project onto him by doing things like selling his car to help fund the bobsledders. We also got a chance to see his character, because he knew that he was the reason that Derice and Yul Brynner had not had a chance to even run their race. Junior tripped. Yeah. And so he knew that he needed to come into this bobsled team with a level of humility, as a result of that circumstance. At the same time, we understand Yul Brynner's character very well, because when we first meet him, before he has said anything, we see him on the track, ton of bravado. You know, he's got this like very much
smacking his head.
Yes, he's like a WWF character. Is it WW? 3 W's F character?
No, you got it right. Keep going.
Yeah. And he's just like, he's like this big, intimidating character. You can see he's a loner. And every single time we meet him in that character building part of us getting to know him, he is showing us that he's a loner. He's showing us how angry he is at Junior. And he's showing us how much he wants to get out of Jamaica. This is something we learned very early about him. So then when those two start to come together, we understand what they are overcoming to get to that relationship. And so just to your point, bro, about like how authentic the relationship building felt, I think it speaks to the character development.
And Yul Brynner's character in the beginning, when you're meeting him and you're listening, he has lines at this point. His main thing is don't touch me.
Yeah.
And it's like, but by the end of the movie, he is the one hugging everyone the most. Yep. He's hugging strangers. He even kisses Senka's lucky egg. Yep. And so Senka is definitely the comedic relief throughout the entire movie. What is it? Dougie Doug? Is it right? He did such a great job.
He did.
Does it still make you laugh?
It did, because I was just like, you are just this. You own a store, but simultaneously still seem a little shiftless. Like I don't, but he's like
that's Jamaica, baby.
He's this loyal
Everything
friend.
Is
Irie. He is this loyal friend that he is like, they live on an island where there's no snow and ice, and he's willing to go with his best friend Derice to Canada, where there is only snow and ice at this point, but they're going up there he is not an athlete at all. While the other parts during the montages, you see all of them, Yul, Derice, and Junior, they're all starting to gain their strength. They're pulling themselves up. Senka never finds strength. Senka is continually weak through the whole movie.
Nobody hating on Senka.
But he
got a little strength.
He has little, but it's just so funny to watch him.
You know what Senka brings? What he ends up bringing is he's very much, I would say, like Derice was the focus of the team. He was that focused energy, that determination. But Senka was the heart. Because Absolutely. At the end, when they were struggling with identity, yes, Senka, you're physically clearly not an athlete at all. Clearly, you can't do a pull up. You're like a stick. You're a walking stick. But when it came time to getting into the right mindset for the work that they had to do to win, it was Sanka that basically said, y'all, we have to remember who we are. We're here feeling like imposters. And so we're acting like imposters. We just have to be, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, we have to be ourselves, And so, yeah, he was not a physical specimen that could sit next to Doris and Yul and Junior.
And none of them.
None. But he was the heart, He
was, and the others, because he was authentically staying Jamaica while everybody else might have been trying to get off the island. He was like, and I brought the island with me. And he had a hot plate. He was making some plantains. Right. Everybody else maybe had regular luggage, a little duffel bag. No. He had a bag that had Jamaican, the type of things that you would see in like a souvenir shop almost. Like he had that type of stuff with him. He had his Jamaican hat on.
He was no doubt Jamaican.
He was like, I'm not playing with y'all. He was like, I'm going to stay me wherever I go. And also, what I appreciated about him during the bar scene, Sanka didn't know anything that had just happened. All he knows is that he saw Yul and Junior in a fight, and he was like, I gotta go jump in there with my boys. And
he just jumped in.
He literally jumped in. And so it's like saying, you're about to get beat up. And he knows he's about to get beat up because, as we discussed, he has no strength. Yeah. But he just knew he is all in it for his team. Because those became his friends. Mm-hmm. Something I want to bring up is like Irv Blitzer, John Candy's character. I know that a lot of times in these movies, when there is this white character, they become the white savior in these movies. And I just didn't feel that at any point in this movie. Like, I didn't feel like he was, I'm the reason that this is happening. No, this was a man who was down on his luck. He needed the Jamaican bobsled team as much as they needed him. They needed his expertise, his experience, his history, and a little bit of his name, not much of it. Just a little bit of it. But they also, and his connections, because that's how they got us to get, because they got to Calgary. They didn't have a sled when they got to Canada. So and you need that if you're going to participate. And so him having his connections with some old friends that he used to work with in bobsledding, he was able to get that. So I just really appreciated seeing his character develop as well. And him being someone who was quite selfish because he that kind of him building up and being like, he put weights in the front of the thing. He just wanted to win so bad and all these different things. And now he brought shame to his country and his coach and all these different things. And now to see him walking into a room where you all have to know they were moving the bar for the Jamaican team. At one point, it was a 1-5 that you had to run to qualify, to race to qualify. Then it went down to 1-2. But by the time that it was time for the Jamaicans night to do their run, it went down to a minute flat. And so they're constantly moving the bar. And so then when they got in under a minute flat, they then wrote a letter and said, oh, no, you can't do it because you have to have ran previously in an Olympic trial.
In an international race.
In an international race. And John Kennedy was like, that's impossible. Normally the qualifiers used to be that was your international race. They're like, oh, well, we've changed. And the only reason that things were changing because they were angry with him. Mm-hmm. And so he was able to have
this. It was two things though, sis. They were angry with him, but also there was a little bit of not wanting Jamaica in the space.
Absolutely.
There was a layer of that. And I think the movie did a good job of holding like that complexity of like, there was some racism involved, but it was personal as well. It was
personal and it was racist. And they didn't do anything overtly like, oh, they're using N-words in this movie or anything like that. They didn't do that. But they did make sure to show, listen, they are all outsiders. Everybody out here is a white man. And here y'all are coming up here, all these bright colors of 4 black men with this one plus-ass white man that no one likes. Like, it was really just this. I just appreciated that part.
Yeah, I didn't. I felt like they didn't want Jamaica there, but it was more because that's not a place that has winter sports. On some levels, I almost kind of felt that on some levels, because it's like we do this. This is,
it's cold all year round where I'm from. I slide on ice to get coffee.
You think you're just going to mosey up in and just all of a sudden you on my level?
With your palm tree.
What I appreciated though was like the International Olympic Committee, which so they don't just govern winter sports. It was that committee that was changing the rules to keep Jamaica out.
Yep.
And they made sure to show us that whole committee was white men. There wasn't even a woman in that room. That whole committee was white men. And, and all of the bobsledders, very, very white, areas. And so I felt like they were, being intentional about showing that there is also cultures getting boxed in and out of certain things. And I actually really appreciated that, because this is one of those things where it's like, you want to think of the Olympics as a place that is it is a paradigm.
It's the Olympics. All the whole world can be able to come.
Totally. And it's supposed to be
their country.
That's it. It's supposed to be about every country showing up in the best way that they can. And it's supposed to be, let's set all differences aside. This is just about the sports. And somehow these other things were showing up as factors. And I appreciated that, because it was like, that's real life.
It's so we
can never, you even see on the news how they are, years and years and years in advance fighting over who will host the Olympics. These things are deeply political, and we don't think of them that way. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was one of those great 90s movie kind of ways of showing you, there's something going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it was cultural. It just didn't feel racist to me at all. It to me, it felt like if they were, I mean, it's hard to think of a non-melanated person from a hot climate. Country. But I'm saying, I feel like that person, that group would have got the same, would have had the same problems. Because for me, it felt more like, and I liked the fact that, yes, they were jerks, but I also liked that I could kind of empathize with them in a way. Because this is like, yo, because the other thing was, as soon as they showed themselves respectable, they all switched. They if it was about themselves. If they still were Black, so if it was about racism, they wouldn't have come around. To me, it was just more like yo, we are the elite athletes, and you just think you're going to come and pass, and in 3 months compete with us? I'm offended. You know what I mean? Like that's how I felt. But
I could see that. But the other side of it was like, y'all are not even giving them a chance to fail. Like, at least give them a chance to come here and do more.
If you're good, just go through the process.
But I think that Yul Brynner, he said it whenever they were noticing, of course, all eyes were on them. He was like, we're different. People don't like what's different. Mm-mm. And so it was just that in that statement that they were able to show, like, yeah, you are coming and you are. And there's a fear too, right? Like if you can get into their minds, like this thing that we're holding. Yeah. There's this fear of like, what if they do come in and they do well? Okay, well, what does that mean at this point, right? Yeah. Like they're coming in and they're what it reminds the door to these other places. Like
what it reminds me of? It reminds me of there was an experience I had of walking in to go an organization I was leading finance and operations for. We had just picked a new investment advisor, and I and my vice president of finance, who reported into me, a white guy, the two of us went to go visit this new financial advisor. And they immediately were assuming that my direct report was the superior out of the two of us. Just out of just looking at us and saying hello, they started deferring to him. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, it's that whole concept of it's like that guilty.
That story. Well, I want them to hear the whole story because they asked him a definitive question and then he had to go, well, she's my boss, so you have to ask.
Listen, I mean, the truth is that my VP of finance, the guy is awesome, and he showed up in exactly the way you would want a white ally to show up, where he just stated the facts of the situation. This is our CFO, and we had a great partnership. He and I, we're still good relationship, and that could have gone another way. Our dynamic could have been different, but we had a positive dynamic. And so within a few minutes, we had set the record straight about who was who in the room. But of course, there I am now having to feel this pressure of having to prove myself to just be who I am, and so that whole people respect them after they prove themselves. This is very frustrating because there are other people who get to just walk in the room and get the benefit of the doubt, and it's like that. How we always say, like in America, whiteness is innocent until proven guilty, but Blackness is guilty until proven innocent. It's the same thing with qualifications in the workplace. White people can have, people will automatically assume that they're qualified and that they belong in the space. And then as a person of color, you're having to show that you can do what it is you've been hired to do.
But this isn't a workplace.
Which leads to migraines, headaches,
all I know,
gaining weight.
All I know,
it's exhausting.
All I know, if it was me and I was doing something my whole life, and I am the elite of the elite. I am in the Olympics. I'm the top. And then you didn't even have a team a week ago and you're up here with me. All I'm saying is that I feel them.
So then you would feel the same way if they would have if Switzerland would have been in track and field. Because is snow.
That's a beautiful example. I don't think it was for me. I just didn't feel nothing. It wasn't about race. It was about culture. It was about if you, the same thing. Let's use that as an example. You got these dudes who are track runners, right? They're running their whole. How hard you got to work for those 9 seconds, and then these dudes, their bobsled broke, so now all of a sudden they show up at the track. It's just who do you think you are? I've been working for this.
Why does that offend you if the fastest person wins? That's the thing. It's I don't know how you can just be offended by the presence of someone if you're in a competition.
Yes, those would be very well-adjusted athletes who are sitting there and saying, well,
I'm the best, so I'm going to win. I don't care about these interlopers.
At the end of the day, the fastest person, but guess what? This is the real world. That's not how athletes roll. Athletes are aggressive people. That's what they do. That's how they are. When you see that they're the biggest, they're the strongest, they're the fastest. That is part of their nature they're competitive. That's part of what they are.
Well, I think we beat this horse dead. And I think we have to agree to disagree because, bro, it's anytime we subtract race from a dynamic, when racism is such a fundamental construct of the way nationality exists in every country in this world, I'm going to struggle. I'm never going to say that athletic mindset can exist separate from the way that we are socialized into race. They can't be separated from my perspective.
I think Irv Busser said it best. I think he said it best when he was in the room. He said it best when they was in the room. He was he was like, I didn't know 4 black guys in a bobsled could make you blush. That's
John Candy said that.
John
so
Candy,
good.
The urban security said that.
They called it out. Totally.
And I really liked Brittany, before we get off that, I really liked his character in the sense of, I like that a lot of times, because this is a feel-good movie, and a lot of times in the feel-good movies, they will get away from, okay, so for example, it would be like, yes, he put these weights in the front, but what happened is his grandmother put a bet on it'll be something where they justify.
And it was the whole company.
Right, exactly. And it's like,
it was like,
but
no,
that's what I'm saying.
It was like, no, this Joker just wanted to win.
That's right. And they let it sit in that. It was just
good.
like
that was really good storytelling.
Yeah, they let it just sit like, look, and it wasn't really redemption over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it wasn't even that they forgave him necessarily. It was more that he just went up because like Brittany said, when they changed the qualifications again, now they're disqualified again. And when he went up there, he just made the point that y'all are hating me so much that you're missing the point of why you're hating me. Like you're hating me because I wasn't sportsmanlike, and rightfully so. But now you're doing the exact same thing. And nobody ever like explicitly forgave him or even said, it's like, yeah, that was, but we're just not going to punish these guys
because of your legacy,
because of your
said they earned the right to carry the flag of their country.
That's right.
And so I was like, yes, that's it right there. They earned the right to represent their country. Like, this is what it's about. That because
they did what you asked.
They did everything. They did what you asked with you moving the bar.
Yes.
Everything. And they did it in outfits that didn't match when they first started. They didn't have matching outfits. Okay. There was something happening there. And so it was just to hear him go to bat for them. But also with that being said, I want to make sure we don't miss out on talking about Derice's character. If it wasn't for Derice's persistence and his positive attitude, and honestly, something that my sister and I talk about often, manifesting, he manifested that bobsled team.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my gosh.
They weren't getting any support from the Olympic office in Jamaica. And he was like,
we'll find the money.
Vincent was like, well, basically, like, we're done here.
Do you know
he was like,
just give up mean anything to you? Not a thing. Not a thing, baby. I love that because man, it's just like it doesn't even occur. Like when you're on a path,
because that's the winner mentality.
It is.
Stopping doesn't occur to you. You're just like, I don't know how to not keep going. Like I'm just going to keep going. I don't know. And you're right. His character was serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's great because he was a teacher. So it was like, because his wife was like, you have papers to grade. And he was about to go out running again. You could tell that even though he was living life and making sure he was handling responsibilities and all these different things, he never lost his passion.
Nope.
And I think that that's something that is so important to remember, because the American dream, which is something, since we grew up here, like that's our frame of reference. When you are trying to attain this life, you can let things that you love, passions, things that you're so good, you can let it just take you away from it.
Totally.
But even in him being a teacher and needing to do those things, it didn't. He was making sure he was running. And I loved that he had the support of his wife. She was so supportive of all the things that he was doing. When he was sad, she felt it, like really showing this of course wasn't a rom-com or anything, but showing that bit of love story that was happening right there for them. That was so beautiful.
This is not a complaint,
the funny relation.
Go ahead. I kind of would have liked to see in a little more of that between them. Like I would have liked to see their relationship fleshed out a little more. She didn't feel as significant in the movie as I felt like she should have.
She was gorgeous. Do you have her name?
Yes.
She was gorgeous.
And but she was kind of like equivalent to the rest of the community in terms of.
Yeah, it was like, you know, that was the thing. Like,
Bertina McCauley played Joy Bannock.
Gorgeous. Beautiful
Bertina
hair.
McCauley. Yeah. Beautiful.
Like I agree with you, bro.
Yeah, like it didn't feel, it felt like, and again, I'm not saying, after watching this for all this time, I'm just saying that was the one thing I was like, well, you know, because like at the end, it could have just been like a phone call or something. I don't know, just something to you know.
So it's funny that you would say that, though, because I think Janiyah brought up a really good point when she just said she seemed more like the community. I want to call that out. I don't know if this was strategic. I don't know how they did this, but I was so happy that they didn't make Jamaica just look like it was this poor, struggling country with no people in it that I like, you know, send a penny a day to feed the homeless. Like it wasn't any situation like that. It showed some people who were working in business offices and some people who were, you know, selling food on the street, some people who were walking in the towns, and some people who were carrying baskets on their head. Yeah. Just showing the diversity of this place. And in my opinion, not being disrespectful of it, and showing also the beauty, the water, the trees, the grass, agree. It was just gorgeous. And I was like, okay, y'all did this very nicely.
I forget which one of y'all sent it, but
Brittany.
There was a video where, they were talking about, I think that is a part I feel like was very intentional in the sense of, because they said that there was one scene where they were making they were supposed to make a snowman. And then when they were going to, you know, finish the snowman, they were going to put a blunt in his mouth or you know, make him smoke a weed. And that would have been very lazy, you know, very
and leaning into a stereotype, big time. And the
it seems like they really fought.
The actors rallied. The 4 actors rallied and said, "We're not doing that."
Yeah.
That was so like to think about those being 4 Black men taking a stance and being very clear on what they're going to do and not do. I think that is so powerful. I'm so happy you brought that up, bro.
And the thing is, it wouldn't even make sense. It wouldn't make, because they're athletes. They're not into that. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not what they're doing. Like you could just tell by how they are. Like, they are athletes. They're the peak athletes in the world. So
and to qualify for the Olympics, you can't do that.
And so if we were talking about like the movie How High, okay, that movie is about
how high can you get?
You know, so it's like, okay.
That's in the title.
That's in the, you know, but like why would you want to just, you know, just out of the blue, like that wouldn't even have made sense.
Yeah.
Like,
the one way though that it sounds like, based on you know, again, Brittany did some great digging to find us some videos that gave us some great, you know, trivia and behind the scenes. They had originally the actors were doing very authentic Jamaican accents. And there was actually a choice by the production to make them sound more like Sebastian the Crab from what's the movie with the mermaid?
Ariel. Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid. Yeah.
I'm up here calling it. It's Ariel.
And like, I'm like the movie with the Little Mermaid in it. What's it called? The Little Mermaid.
Oh, it's called Crab Movie.
Exactly.
It's called Under the Sea.
And so that, you know, that was one way in which, and so they then did have to start playing into an exaggerated accent a little bit, you know. But I'll tell you,
can I ask y'all, like, man, I'm conflicted when I find out about stuff like that, because it's like I don't want to unknow the information, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, Kiss the Girl used to be my song, yo. That used to be my song. You know, like when we were all
but it's also a crab that's animated and singing versus a story about real men
about Jamaica.
So it's let the crab be a little bit of a caricature.
Okay. Thank you, Janiyah. Thank you.
Janiyah, just some Little Mermaid.
I take with a grain of salt these things that happen. Because I know that they have happened. They are currently happening, and they will continue to happen until there is a true shift and change in Hollywood and in these things. And as we are able to write our own narratives and have our own platforms, we don't have to worry about these things as much anymore. So I can turn on Netflix and I can turn on the All Black app and I can see African movies by African directors with the African cast, with the African writers. Like I can watch that and know that I am getting something that
more accurate, more authentic. And so if this was right now, would there maybe have had to been would they have said, no, we're absolutely 1000% not doing that? Probably. But so I think when I hear those types of facts and stuff about movies, I just go, all right, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
I'm surprised y'all didn't make one of them.
Whoa.
And I'll also say y'all didn't make one of the bobsledders white because it was this one white man living on the house.
I mean,
you didn't do that. Okay.
I feel like the Cool Runnings was definitely a success story in the sense of and you could tell that they probably had to fight to get it to where it was in terms of because they still had the little joke with Sanka, like, what you smoking, which was like a little, they were probably like, all right, we gotta leave that. All right, we'll let that one slide. You know what I'm saying? But so I'm sure there was probably a lot more that got put on the cutting floor.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, but it was also retroactive, like, I don't want to not like the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Right. So
and with the Little Mermaid, the crab also had a really big bottom lip. And I struggled with that until I saw that they had, because, sometimes Disney will make the animated character look kind of like the voice actor. Right. And so they had actually picked up some facial features from the voice actor. Because I always struggled with the way the crab, he had a larger bottom lip. And I was like, what was that about? Yeah. But that was actually very handsome guy, but he did have a bigger bottom lip.
This is another reason why don't ruin my favorite Disney movie, because that movie makes no sense, okay? She goes and she's trying to become human for some man, and we know that that's patriarchy, and she can't talk, which is every man's fantasy. That
if it's not on the list.
We got to get some more Disney on there.
We need to put that on there along with Lion King.
Well,
we have a lot to talk about. And Aubrey, you're not going to stop me from talking about those nuances when we talk to those movies. You're not going to be able to stop me. I'm going to.
I'm just
She's very emotional for a future conversation. And she's emotional in advance. Giving us a
put it in whole screen on my Zoom. So that I drop out. So I could drop out when the Little Mermaid conversation gets I'll come.
What did y'all try to do? Y'all tried to hate on Sandra Dee. That's what y'all tried to do. So we're not going to do that again. Okay.
You wanna kiss me?
Okay. If you all want to know what Brittany is talking about Sandra Dee, you have to go back and take in our podcast that is about the movie Grease, so you can understand the context for Brittany's comment.
The musical.
But y'all, before we leave this topic of the casting and the actors, y'all, I wanted to just further celebrate John Candy's performance. When you think of John Candy, you think of him as a comedic actor, and his performance in this movie, it shows you what it takes to be an iconic comedic actor. Okay. Because he could do that deadpan funny. It was flawless. His performance to me was wonderful. And then when he needed to get into a dramatic moment, when he needed to be inspirational, when he needed to be in his own brokenness in terms of where life had taken him, he was able to go there. But he also had lines that actually made me laugh out loud. And so I was so grateful for his performance. And it turns out that he was on their original dream cast list. They wanted him, and he actually took a pay cut for the film. That is how much he liked the character. And there were some other actors that Disney had actually envisioned for the original cast, including Denzel Washington as Doris, Eddie Murphy as Sanka, Wesley Snipes as Yul Brynner, Marlon Wayans as Junior. Okay. And those other actors, they passed, and for some of them, it was at least because of the money. I don't know if it was for all, but I found that there were a couple that passed because of the money. So they actually were somewhere between their B and C level roster by the time they got to the set of the key bobsled team members. And I got to tell you, these actors, they, to me, felt very, very, very well suited for each of their roles.
It works.
They did great.
They did great. Works. And I'm always the one that's
can't argue with the universe. When the universe is going to do it for you, you might be letter D on the list, and all of a sudden A through C can't do it. And it's like, oh, thank you.
Totally. I thought the casting was very good. The thing about
before you jump off that, I don't want you to leave that point, because it also worked because John Candy was the most famous. It gave the movie the feel of what they were trying to put across, because in the movie, he was the famous one. They were so it's like it translated very well to these four unknowns versus, playing against someone who was already established.
Yes.
And they all did stuff afterwards, except the Junior character. I don't know if he did anything maybe American anymore.
I mean, Doug and of course Malik Yoba, but I don't think the other two did anything.
Leon is a musician.
Leon did a ton of movies like The Temptations, Waiting to Exhale. Like is not like.
I'm putting those on the list next to Little Mermaid.
I mean, I can't wait to hear Aubrey talk about Waiting to Exhale.
My eyes are pre-rolled.
I would say that in terms of Black
haters,
cinema,
just like the Swiss, can't even give it a chance.
The Swiss,
not the real Swiss, the Swiss characters in this movie.
Exactly.
That was a real middle child of you to start to say agree to disagree.
But you know what, Janiyah?
Later on in the conversation, throw another little something.
It wasn't
all my life I
middle child of you.
It wasn't the Swiss that was hating on them. It was the Germans that were hating on them.
The East Germans, right?
It was the East Germans that were hating on them.
You right.
The East Germans came around at the end. It was the Swiss they were imitating because Doris, here he is from Jamaica talking about
the real
Jamaica. Sir, you ain't never done no German ever in your life, and you up here counting in German to go down this. What are you doing, sir? But I forgot. Oh, but they are very. He did. Leon did a lot in Black cinema. He wasn't necessarily, But I do wonder about the Junior character. I didn't really look him up to see if he has done other stuff, but I did see that he is from Trinidad.
I looked them all up because I was just curious. Because I mean, obviously, Malik Yoba had a pretty big career after that.
Y'all, me and Malik Yoba were married back in the day. When he was on New York Undercover.
He didn't know. Yeah, well, I knew.
But that normally keeps a marriage successful when one of the parties doesn't know that they're married.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't have to meet to be a spouse. We need to talk about the soundtrack too. We got to talk about the soundtrack of this movie.
I can. Rise above it. You can do it. Rise above it.
Oh, so good.
I don't know what he says, but I know the cadence.
You got the feel. You got the feel.
You got the feel, though. But I appreciate it. And yeah.
So there's two songs I would call out. I would call out Rise Above It because I feel like that song has stayed with me since seeing this movie, because I feel like that's one of those things. There are a couple of things from this movie that I know Brittany and I have like integrated into our regular conversation.
Really?
Oh yeah, me and Brittany, whenever like if one of us is like trying to get
one random thing and we're going to keep it.
Yeah. If one of us is trying to get
our
in touch with the other one,
allow us to use it on him, but we do anyway.
We do. We don't care what he wants and things.
We don't care. Who cares about that?
Whenever one of us, if we can't get in touch with the other one, or if the other one has had a bad day or a bad experience, we'll say, Darish, you dead?
Yeah, Senka, you're dead, man.
You're dead, man.
I'll send a gift.
Yeah, you're dead. And then Rob's like, yeah, man. You know, like I'm dead. You know,
I'm dead.
Yeah, and also I feel like Rise Above It. Rise Above It is a song that has stayed with me as an inspirational song. I just want to say
that's because if you reach out to me, I will respond. Whereas you two decide, well, yes, I'm going to be uncontactable for the next 3 weeks. And so, yes, it's necessary.
Well, I want to let you know, bro, that as an operations professional, okay, what you have to do is just create a service level standard so that it's predictable. That's all you got to do.
And as a social media savant, sometimes you have to leave the people wanting more.
Makes sense to me. So
if I don't pick up immediately, what is it like? Oh, you're on your toes now. Oh my God, I can't wait for Brittany to call me back.
It's strategic.
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
Well, thank you for letting
You're welcome.
Yeah, just a little decoding.
Yeah, you know? You're welcome.
You know, behind the scenes of Brittany and Genia.
Yeah.
Now, another song that is so good from that soundtrack, I can see clearly now. And in particular, that cover, that Jimmy Cliff cover, is another song that I feel like has just stayed in my soul. And it's just
if
so
it wasn't
good.
for royalties, I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah. So good. So, and then it was also...
That's such a good song.
And they did a great job. They did a great job of keeping and honoring the Jamaican culture and in the soundtrack. You know, there are a lot of ways they could have gone with that, but I felt like they really did a great job of honoring the culture. And I was shocked because the music producer, it was Hans Zimmer. And I just thought, oh,
girl, you ain't know Hans Zimmer be on it.
Hans Zimmer clearly be on it, but Hans Zimmer is also, it's one of these things, and it's back to what Brittany was saying, it happens. I mean, he did The Lion King, you know, but it's one of those things that's like, gosh, you are blatantly missing an opportunity to get authentic voice in, you know? So I don't know, get somebody from that place. That's all I'm saying. If culture is so integral to the story you're telling, get somebody from that place.
And I want to shout out this one part that was insignificant, but it was very significant to me because I want you all to know, as I was watching this movie, I was saying the majority of the words. I want you to know that the part where Darius at the beginning of the movie was running through the town, through the village, and the two women had baskets on their head. And they said hello to him, but let you know that they know him around the town. They know him around the village. And as he ran away, she said, I could watch that backside all day. Just like, this is my favorite. I love it. I loved it.
You're right. That was very critical to the movie.
And I also...
The part that they were playing while the credits were still rolling.
Would have been a real miss.
And also
to not have called that out.
And Senka's mom. Senka's mom was the greatest because she did not believe in her son at all. She said that lazy, crazy, no good vagabonds. That's what she called him. That's what she called Senka. And then by the end of it, when they were walking across holding their flag, I did not notice. I've watched this movie a million times. I will show you this again. Okay. I've watched this movie a million times. I never noticed her crying. She was crying watching him wave as they were doing the famous Olympic walk-in carrying the country's flag.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she was like proud. Oh, I never noticed her do that. And I also want to say at the end, like I didn't know that it was coming. I cried. I cried. I was like, all they wanted to is cross the finish line. I was sitting in there crying.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all. It welled up. It welled up a little bit on the. It did cross. I was like, I'm emotional right now.
I was very emotional, and I had to.
The first time that they said when they said their chant, the first time, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Get on up. It's bobsled time. I was like, yes, it's bobsled time. I was feeling it.
They keep trying to fail y'all.
And listen, and I was watching this with my boyfriend who does not like spoilers. And so when I knew something good was coming, something happy or something sad, I was like a statue. I was trying so hard not to react. But when that last run was about to happen, I got so emotional. I was like, oh God, I can't watch it.
I was about to say, well, you totally got the wrong girlfriend.
Yeah, you do. You're in trouble, buddy. You're in big trouble. You did not get your trouble. Your desires were not met in this category.
And one of the things that they talked about was that basically the real footage from, and one of the videos I found, they were like, the only thing really accurate about this movie was the footage.
The snippet of footage, just a snippet of the footage from the actual race. Because for insurance purposes, they actually, the 4 actors that played the bobsled team, they never actually went down a pike. They couldn't even be trained to do it because of insurance, for insurance purposes. So the only thing they were even trained to do was to run and hop in. So that was the only part of the actual bobsledding process they were even allowed to learn and actually do.
That is so crazy.
Well, you know, your bones don't break in a bobsled; they shatter.
They shatter.
That's what Irvin said.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've talked about the story. We've talked about the actors. We've talked about the beautiful setting, the music. You know, I would love to talk a little bit about the takeaways from this movie, you know.
Rise above it.
And I will say, like, bro, you talked about it earlier, that John Candy's character, Irv, he was just living in the consequences of his choices. That's all it was. And what I appreciated about it was that there was something in him that was basically saying, I am committed to what we're doing here, but I also am living in my consequences. And he was using that to tell the story and to coach others. And there was a scene where he was talking with Doris, and Doris was feeling very insecure and nervous. Do I have what it takes? And in that moment, you know, Doris is also like, what drove you to cheat? You know, I'm sitting here asking you for advice as my coach, but you know, your morals were in question clearly in the past. And what John Candy basically says to him is, if winning is all that you are and all that you have, it's never going to be enough. You have to be complete without it, you know? And so I appreciated that takeaway of even that thing that is your passion, it can't complete you. You have to be complete in who you are, and all of the rest of this is gravy.
Well, we're done here. Let's vote.
It's a good takeaway.
Shania,
so good.
You just connected something that has never been connected for me. I don't know if it's been connected for y'all, but I think that's why Doris said, I got to finish the race.
Oh yeah.
Because John Candy said, you'll know whether or not winning is enough for you once you cross the finish line.
Absolutely. And before that last run, John Candy and Doris lock eyes. And he says to them, I'll see you at the finish line.
Yeah. I never
wow.
I never connected that.
Oh yeah.
When he said that, I thought he was just saying it because it was like, I gotta, but I think it was that as well.
It was that.
But I think it was a callback to their conversation.
Absolutely, it was.
Wow.
And in the background, they have, what's the song? There is but one freedom. Been running along. What's the name of that song? I can't remember.
Oh gosh.
But it's dun, 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 dun.
Oh gosh.
One step to his throne.
Mm-hmm.
But they have that type of music to come on in the
Chariots
background.
of Fire. No, Chariots of Fire is the movie it's in. It's not the song.
Okay. Listen.
Yeah.
I think that something for my current life that I've been able to take away is just, it's okay to recreate. Like, he was a track runner. He knew he's running all the time, all around his neighborhood. This is him. This is his dream. He can feel it. And in an instant, off of something that he had no control over, he tripped and he fell. But it didn't stop him because he just recreated himself. You have never, because when he went into the Olympic office asking them to do a redo because of what happened, and he was like, well, he's, just giving the backstory of Irv Blitzer and him still living on the island. Before he walks out, he looks at the man and he said, what's a bobsled? So it's like, he has no frame of reference for what it was. It was a path. It was another path to get to what he wanted, which was the Olympics. And so I think I'm just in a place in life right now where I am learning that it is okay to recreate and that we all have many giftings. And while if you trace what you can do, sometimes it'll all come back to one thing, but that one thing can sprout to so many things. Like, you may be someone that is great at speech, and you never thought that might lead you to be a senator one day. You just knew that you were great at giving speeches. You had no idea you wanted to be in politics, but now all of a sudden you're in politics. So I'm just thinking about those things, that just paying attention to yourself, being okay with trying something new and recreating yourself, and still knowing that your passion can translate to whatever. So,
and in all of that, be authentic, which was another one of the takeaways. It was like, there was the Sanka character that basically said, listen, I know that I walk Jamaican, I talk Jamaican, and I sure as hell need to be bobsledding Jamaican.
That's it.
He was like, whatever else I am, I need to start with who I am fundamentally and then add from there.
That's it.
Whew, so many good takeaways. Good old 90s movies takeaways. Always a little bit of public service announcement theme in there. So good. Bro, did you have a big takeaway? We shared ours.
That was that epiphany he had earlier.
Oh, no, that was just... it's just when she was talking about it, I was like, that's why he was like, I need the, I don't know, it just never connected for me. But anyway, for me, it was more of a feeling of, man, it was just a feel-good movie. Yeah. And I miss those times where they were just trying to make an entertaining movie. And that's how movies were. It's like, they have messages and things sprinkled within the framework, of course, of this movie, but they weren't beating anybody's head in with any particular message. And it was just,
you don't love social justice movies?
Oh no, I am increasingly checking out of all of that. Like, and so as far as I am forcing those good feelings into other parts of my life, and I want to, because this world will just have you stressed out about things you can't even impact. And I'm just saying, for me, like, just being transported to these places where it's like, yo, this is just a good movie. I just am seeking out those types of experiences in my life where it's just about enjoying this experience that we have here. So I don't really have a deep, but I can tell you this, I definitely enjoyed the movie a lot.
Well, take it to the vote, bro. Take it to the vote. Yeah. Natural segue.
Yeah, so it definitely it gets my bobsled, and I'll tell you that I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was. The movie didn't make me laugh anymore. The jokes, I mean, I know them all, but they also have like that 90s feel of the jokes. You know what I mean? Like it has that. So they didn't evoke me to, like I didn't laugh out loud. But at the same time, I just enjoyed all of it. Like it didn't drag. The story made sense. like all the things that they brought up had the callbacks that were necessary to wrap up the whole story. And I just thought it was just it will always be part of, my rotation. So definitely it gets my bobsled.
Well, one of the things that I have my personal journey that I've been on for the last several years is to figure out again what kind of day would help me to wake up in the morning and feel very excited and enthusiastic. And it's led me into this journey of exploring comedy writing, of all different types. And I have been so delighted in this part of my personal journey. And what that means is, like, when I'm watching something that's like iconic comedy, I'm watching it as a student as well. And so it's from that place that I give this movie my bobsled, because I felt like I was watching everything that I've been learning, like in my writing classes. I was just watching it all play out so well on the screen. I was watching the character arcs. And again, this is like multiple primary characters who were fleshed out well enough that we could watch and understand their individual journeys. And we were able to laugh, in a way that was not laughing at the movie. We were laughing with the movie. And, I felt like it was just a movie that was well done from a comedy perspective, And so, that's the primary reason I'm giving it my bobsled, because when I'm looking at it again with an academic, examination, it gets an A+. And one of the things Brittany always uses when she's evaluating whether a movie will get her vote, it is whether you would watch it again. And I would watch this movie a bajillion more times. I really would. And would I stop and watch it if I was doing something else and I was just flipping through and it came up? Absolutely. Would I seek it out to watch it because I'm in a certain mood and I need to feel a certain something? Yeah, I would. And so, that's another reason why this movie definitely gets my bobsled.
Let me tell you, I walked into this with some fear. Because clearly, what are we saying right now?
She's holding the VHS up for the 18th time.
I'm going to burn that whole collection.
Aubrey, if you come into my place of dwelling, if you come into my dwelling place and you touch any of my artifacts, we're going to have a problem.
All right.
Now, okay, here's a chain on my door. Just try it. So
you let me in as you always do.
You're right. And so
we really need a montage for you two to get over this rift.
There were several
to build your relationship.
They were all good.
So I was so afraid to watch it again because I was like, I just remember this movie being amazing. I love it. I just remember watching. There were 3 movies I used to watch after church on Sundays, and it was Cool Runnings, Good Burger, and something else. And it was double platinum. These are the movies that were things that I would just watch all the time. I have
that VHS, double platinum VHS is right here.
That's probably because you stole it from me.
I did. See, that's accurate.
It's accurate. See? And so but when I watched it, I said, nope, it didn't fail. It didn't fail. I was still, even though the moments that I was anticipating, I was laughing. And it was really so much fun noticing something I'd never noticed before, which was the mother crying. I was like, even after all these years, this movie came out, and what was it, 93? Mm-hmm. I noticed something new in 2022. And so I just appreciate that part of it. So without a shadow of a doubt, it gets my Jamaican bobsled 100% of all of it, So, and this is something that I do believe that my children will watch it and they will enjoy it. So that's another way, and how Janiyah said, is this something that people could watch in the future and still gain things from? Yes, you can. And even knowing that right now, these actors are still in new things. And so I love that as well. Of course, rest in peace, John Candy, but these other actors, they're in other stuff. I'm not sure too much about Dougie Doug, but even though if you were to say his name, he's still a name that we can all, as people who grew up at a certain time frame, we can all smile because we know his acting and who he was or who he is. So at any rate, I just appreciate, I do appreciate the movie. So absolutely my bobsled.
I love that. And I will also say, like, there's a piece of this that is like honoring an important moment in history, which was the Jamaican bobsled team starting. And that's another one of those things that, from a comedy writing, from a storytelling perspective, to start with a nugget of a true, like a historical fact, a historical moment, and give yourself the freedom as a writer to just start making stuff up from that basis. Yeah. And also, this class, this movie was like a master class in taking that truth and then finding a way to create humor in it from a storytelling perspective.
I love that.
Well, y'all, there you have it. That is 3 bobsleds. That means that Cool Runnings is a classic from the Wright Perspective. Thank you all for joining us for the Wright Perspective. We'll see you next time. Bye, bro and sis. Love you.
I love y'all.